What would you do if a single act of courage turned your entire world upside down? In the heart of a city that never slept, where neon lights flickered against the scars of forgotten alleys, Clara Harper lived a life of quiet resilience. A barista by day, she poured coffee for the weary and smiled through the monotony, but her nights were her own wandering the streets, sketching the world's raw edges in her tattered notebook. She wasn't a hero, or so she thought, until one fateful evening changed everything. The alley was a shortcut she'd taken 100 times, its damp bricks and flickering streetlights as familiar as her own heartbeat. But that night, a cry pierced the Arrow boy's voice, trembling with fear. Clara's steps faltered. Her instincts screamed to keep walking, to stay safe, but her heart tugged her toward the sound. In the shadows, she saw them. 3 figures, hooded and menacing, circling a boy no older than 12. His backpack lay torn at his feet, his eyes wide with terror as one of the thieves brandished a knife. Clara didn't think. She dropped her notebook, grabbed a loose brick from the ground, and shouted, "Leave him alone." Her voice cracked, but it carried enough fire to startle the thieves. They turned, sizing her UPA lone woman, barely 5'4", with no weapon but her defiance. The leader sneered, stepping closer, but Clara swung the brick with all her might, catching his arm. He yelped, dropping the knife, and in the chaos, the boy broke free, sprinting toward her. Clara grabbed his hand, and they ran, the thieves' curses echoing behind them. They didn't stop until they reached the safety of a bustling street, where Clara knelt to check on the boy. His name was Ethan, he said, his voice still shaking. He was small for his age, with messy brown hair and eyes that held a mix of gratitude and guilt. "Thank you," he whispered, clutching her sleeve. Clara brushed it off, telling him to get home safe. But before he left, he pressed a crumpled business card into her hand. "My brother, he'll want to know." She nodded, thinking little of it, and watched him disappear into the crowd. Days passed, and Clara returned to her routine, the incident fading like a dream. Until one morning, a sleek black car pulled up outside the coffee shop. A man stepped out, his tailored suit and sharp gaze out of place among the chipped mugs and worn countertops. He introduced himself as Nathan Caldwell, Ethan's older brother. Clara froze. Nathan Caldwell wasn't just anyone, was the billionaire tech mogul whose name graced skyscrapers and headlines. His piercing blue eyes studied her, not with arrogance, but with a curiosity that made her uneasy. "I owe you," Nathan said, his voice low but firm. "You saved my brother's life." Clara shrugged, uncomfortable with the attention, but Nathan wasn't finished. He slid an envelope across the counter. Inside was a contract and offer to fund her dreams, whatever they were, no strings attached. A new life, he said, for her courage. The sum was staggering, enough to open her own art studio, to travel, to escape the grind that had defined her for years. But there was a catch. He wanted her to join his foundation, to work with at-risk youth, to be a beacon for others like Ethan. Clara's heart raced. This wasn't just money, it was a chance to matter, to build something meaningful. Yet doubt gnawed at her. Why her? She was no one, a woman who scraped by, who sketched in alleys because she couldn't afford canvas. Nathan saw her hesitation and leaned closer. "You didn't save Ethan because you wanted something," he said. "That's why I trust you." His words struck deep, unearthing a truth she'd buried. She wanted to believe she could be more. She spent sleepless nights wrestling with the decision. Accepting meant leaving her old life behind, stepping into a world where she'd feel like an imposter. Refusing meant staying safe, small, invisible. But Ethan's frightened eyes haunted her, and so did Nathan's faith in her. In the end, she signed the contract, not for the money, but for the chance to prove to herself and to others that one act of bravery could ripple outward, changing lives. Clara's new path wasn't easy. The foundation's work was grueling, the kids she mentored carrying scars deeper than her own. But every time she doubted herself, she remembered that night in the alley, when fear hadn't stopped her. She built a studio where those kids could paint, tell their stories, and find their voices. Nathan became an unexpected ally, his intensity softened by a shared vision. And through it all, Clara learned that heroism wasn't about capes or headlines, it was about showing up, again and again, for those who needed you most. Years later, as she stood in her studio, watching a young girl paint with fierce determination, Clara smiled. She'd saved a boy once, but in doing so, she'd saved herself too.